So I'm going to do a real quick how to find some stuff rundown for what's available kind of in our areas. First of all, track equipment is one of those things that should last quite a long time. Um, a good broken in pair of spikes or throwing shoes should last quite a few years. Unfortunately, it's one of those specialty equipment items that's not really stored very well um, in our local businesses. So, going to places in town other than Dunham's, um, sports is not really practical as far as um, getting sprint spikes or throwing shoes goes. As far as that goes, the only place in town that we have in Crossville that will ever carry a sprint spike would be Dunham's. Also in Cookeville and Knoxville, there's a few places you can go if you want to travel out and physically try them on. And I'll show you those. Here in just a moment too. So. First off, we'll look at local. We'll look at Dunham's. So if you go to Dunham's, you're looking at a sprint shoe, and you actually see what's available kind of in store. You'll notice in a sprint spike, you'll see you can kind of see it from the bottom. There'll be actual spots underneath the shoe where metal spikes will go. Typically, a lot of times you'll find these only really fitting or be made largely in males sizes. And so when you find the male shoes, women, you'll have to go up a size and a half down a size and a half typically from your normal shoe. But you kind of see, you look at what like Dunham's has, there's not a lot there. As far as what's available in our local store, typically speaking, you'll find a decent mix. Sometimes we find the Nike ones. Sometimes we'll see what's kind of available in our store. It says they have these available right now. You'll notice these are different. They'll say Sprint spikes and they'll say MD. New Balances will put SD for sprints in the distance, MD for middle distance, and LD for longer distance spikes. So you really want to make sure your spikes match what the sprint group or distance group or whatever, because the flex plate and everything in the bottom can cause some damage. Locally, if these are your two options, these are fine. Sprinters can work with either one of these, and hurdlers. If you're going to hurdle, I would suggest you get a middle distance spike because there's some cushion on the heel, a little more balance for you landing. If you are a sprinter, a pure sprint spike is probably a slightly better option. Under Armour spikes are just fine. Really, all the major brands of these are pretty good. But see, Dunham's is kind of limited. Nike, they used to carry Nike Rivals, and I'll see if they still have them. Doesn't really look like they've got any here. No. So we're pretty limited locally. When you go to Dick's Sporting Goods, there's quite a bit there. That's got the Nashville store. Let's switch to Knoxville. I have no idea. Let's see what's near. Let's see. We'll see what's in the Knoxville store. So when you go there, just kind of see what they have at the Knoxville location, for example, for what they actually carry. You'll notice when you actually see what they have there, it really drastically goes. The Nike Zoom Rival Sprints are probably the longest running, most readily available shoes you can get. Stock is always at a minimum in these, so you have to kind of look. Most places don't carry a ton of sprint spikes. If you're a sprinter, get these. That says sprint. If you're a distance runner, get these. And then they do have a multi shoe. That's more for people who do like different event types. If you're a jumper and a sprinter, these can work really, really well for you. These work also good for pole vaulting. It's called the Nike Multi. It's more versatile. You'll notice the heel on it actually has It's got some width to it. The regular one's really rounded. This one's a little flatter, so provides a much safer surface. So you're looking local. Those are your two. Those two, and then if you are looking for in-stock things that are available in Cookeville, I'm going to switch to the Cookeville store, 38501. As far as seeing, you're going to see the same thing, the Nike Zoom Rivals. That's a crazy price on the Sprint Stars if they actually do have them in stock. It's the equivalent. It's the Adidas Intro. The Under Armour Kick Sprint's the same one you saw earlier. If you're a distance runner, you can run in the cross country spikes. They'll be designated by XC. Those will work fine for distance runners too. So please do not buy replacement spikes. I have a couple hundred of those, if not several hundred of them. So if they don't have the right ones, just come see me. Okay. So locally, those are your three options. Other than that, there's not a lot of great choices, which leads me to my two favorite websites. One is a track website. It's called First to the Finish. Okay. And just a quick nav for that one. When you go to footwear, you can select kind of what you want. So distance runners, you just click on distance track spikes. And then you can select by gender or unisex. A lot of track spikes are unisex, but for example, let's go 9.5, and it'll show you everything they have. Okay, and please do this, otherwise it's going to kind of be disappointing otherwise. Pretty much if they're on here, they're a reasonable spike. Just you'll notice, you can kind of see this in some of them. You'll notice how that Under Armour spike has a huge offset. That is not made for a beginner runner at all. That is going to be very hard on a high school kid. So when you look for a sprint spike, when you look for a distance spike, you notice the more expensive ones have this really large offset. That's going to be really hard on our kids. So try to look for the ones more like this. You notice they're cheaper. It's because these are beginner spikes. They're not going to be as rigid in the middle. There's going to be more cushion involved. These are a much better choice for our kids. So distance spikes. Anything you see on here is going to be a pretty quality one, as long as the plate on the bottom looks mostly flat. I've had good success with all these brands. If you know you're going to be jumping specifically, there are some other things. There are pole vaulting spikes. There are high jump spikes. There are long jump spikes. Middle distance is kind of something that I really would probably reserve mostly for the hurdlers. If you're a hurdler, a middle distance spike is a good thing. It's going to be a little more stable. It's going to have a cushion on the heel. Most elite hurdlers don't hurdle in a sprint spike. They hurdle even in a middle distance spike. So sprint spike, same thing down here. There's tons of them. They've got all sorts of options. Just once again, please make sure you look by size if you use this website. Otherwise, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Sometimes you can find crazy deals on here. If they've got leftover stock, like I've seen spikes as inexpensive as like $15 before, depending on the size. Like this one, this is one of my all-time favorite ones. The SD 100s are, I think New Balance makes the best spike in track and field. And this is probably my favorite beginner spike, and they're on sale right now. So it's a really good deal. Throwers. Now, for whatever reason, throwing shoes have become almost impossible to get a hold of. I do not know why, but I do know if you go to First to the Finish right now and you go to the Adidas Throw Stars, there are tons of them available. I have used this shoe in college. This is one of their classic shoes. It is great for outdoor track. You see the stock it's pretty stocked up. But these will go away very quickly. Right now, I think there's 2 brands you can even get on Amazon, so they're very limited. Just as everything else, kind of type your size in or whatever. See what I can even buy today. Probably not many. I know the Throw Star is available. They got a few of these others. You'll notice there is some difference in the shoes. Like the ASICS has these 2 shoes. What's the difference? Typically, the difference is the more expensive it is, the more quickly it will let you spin. So you're sacrificing control for speed. The plastic rubber compound on the bottom is slicker, which for a better thrower can sometimes help. If you're new, it makes them much less useful. So if you go here to buy a pair of spikes, I would suggest The Hyper Throw 3s, the Throw Stars, either one of those are really, really good. If you're not sure, just send me a message and I'll gladly tell you kind of what to go for. The other place you can look is Amazon, and you look for like throwing shoes on Amazon. They do have a couple other brands like Velasa are okay, but also most of these, like when you actually pull a lot of these up, aren't throwing shoes at all. So you have to be a little careful. Like, you know, it pulls up some other random stuff. When you look at the Prime stuff, you're really stuck mostly to this. Is the Velasa is about all you're going to find. Like, these show up as a throwing shoes, and those are not throwing shoes. That's that same Hyper Throw we saw earlier. But sizing on Amazon right now is really limited. It's quite difficult to actually get sizing on much of them. Really, your only two choices are the Adidas, the Asics, and the Velasas on here, or the Asics or the Velasas are all you're going to get. So there's not a lot available right now. So that's the biggest rundown. When you look at Sprint Spikes on Amazon, you know, Adidas is a good brand. A lot of these others I don't know anything about. The names you're looking for typically, if you're buying off Reputation or Nike, the Asics are pretty good. The Sauconys are really good. The Under Armours have been really good at times. Brooks, Pumas are great. I just don't know about part of these others. The Adidas ones are great. But if you're a sprinter, if it doesn't say Sprint in the spot in the intro, it's probably not a good choice. And every year, some kids come to me and say, "Hey, what do you think about these?" And they'll show me a $200 pair of spikes that are really meant to be run by professionals and high-level athletes. And I'll tell them the same thing every time: they're going to kill your feet. Okay, so just please buy a shoe that's appropriate for your development level. Really, all of our kids, when we look at training-wise, would be considered still beginner level. So try to stick to something a little more beginner-friendly. These slightly more flexible mid-plates and things and less offset, especially for the distance runners, are probably going to be a better choice for them. So that's it. Just kind of give you guys a set of